study a little bit, enough for it, talk to some people, maybe get a sanity check from some seasoned investors, like tell them like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Can you just come take a look at this property with me? This is my plan. And then after that, pull the trigger, do it.
All right, welcome everybody. I am excited for today's episode because I have two amazing real estate investing brothers out of the Springfield, Ohio area, Stas and Arthur Solomon, and they're going to tell you their story, how they've built a portfolio of real estate, and it's primarily paid off, and they've got an amazing story and a lot of value to share. So I know you're going to benefit from this interview. So welcome, guys. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Chad. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So we have, we're in a mastermind together. And so we talk every week, and I've heard a whole bunch of, parts of your story and how just pieces, but I don't know that I've ever sat down and really had the whole discussion of how you started and how you got to where you are today. So how did that real estate investing journey start? Where did you get that initial interest, or what was that first step like?
Well, Arthur and I, we kind of have two different stories, more or less. Arthur, if you want to start, his story starts in a little bit earlier, and it kind of introduces me to real estate. So I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, so we got started back actually in 2009 when I was going to Wittenberg University. Just bought my first house, rented out some rooms in it. Kind of got, feet in the water, and figured out that this makes money. And then I helped my parents get like 10 properties, and then they bought my first rental property for me for helping them get the 10 going. So that was my first rental property back in 2012, and I still own that property to this day. It's 79 East Norman in Dayton. And then we started buying. Then Stas and I, we joined forces back in 2013, November 2013, and started Comfort Living. That's our joint venture, where we buy properties and we're partners in that. And so that was one of our first nightmare deals, which you have those in this business. That was a nightmare deal. We ended up dumping that property. So maybe Stas can talk a little bit more about that and explain why that was a nightmare deal that we would never buy again.
Yeah, that was quite the ride. So how I got started in real estate is I was in the Navy. Arthur came to me, and he was doing real estate, and I was deployed and on the ship a lot, and I'm so grateful for it, super grateful for it. But I knew that I couldn't do it for maybe like 20, 30 years. It was great, but at the same time, I really wanted freedom. I really wanted to travel more and, just experience more of life. So I got started with my first house in Norfolk, Virginia. It was 902 square feet. It was 3-bedroom, 1 bath. And I moved in, I had three roommates and I living in this 902 square foot little house. So you can imagine it was
Sounds ideal. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So it was two roommates and my girlfriend at the time, who's not my wife. So that, the roommates were paying all the bills, more or less. I was actually making money on the deal. So all I had to do was buy the house. And I had these guys who were paying, I think $325 or $350 each. And, we were cutting the bills accordingly. So in the end, I was hooked. On top of that, I bought the house for $85. I ended up selling it for $120. So it was a very good experience.
That's
and after
awesome.
I really wanted to pursue it a little bit further. So that's when
like house hacking, just real intense house hacking. Where you're sharing the rooms in the one space, not half a double or something. So that's sure.
Yeah. Arthur actually did the same thing with his first house. He had some interesting roommates.
What's the story with the interesting roommates, Arthur?
Yeah.
I mean, all of them were good. A lot of them were great. I never had any issues, but we did have one guy that almost overdosed. I mean, if that's interesting. But, it was a good starting experience. We learned how to do contracts. We learned how to do, the legal side of it. I mean, it's still doing real estate, even though you're just renting a bedroom out of your house. you still have to manage that asset. You still have to make sure the property's in good shape. All of those things. So it was so helpful. And then 2014, I'm a realtor now since 2014, but if it wasn't for Stas paying for, he's like, because we were doing real estate already, he's like, well, why don't you just get your real estate license? And he actually paid for it. So without Stas having done that, I don't know that I would be a realtor today, you know, six years in the making. And we've got a thriving team, and we just keep crushing our goals in that regards too. So it just so funny how it all came together, from starting from renting rooms to now getting into the real estate business. And now we just had a big opportunity with the 76 unit project that unfortunately we didn't get, but now playing on a whole different level, not just one house or two houses, but almost 100 houses, you know, that we're looking at. So
I'm sure we'll get to that one, but I think it's, you know, it's a good reminder for everybody, you know, if they look at house hacking or living in a house and renting out rooms to people and they think I couldn't do that for 20 years or I couldn't, well, they don't have to, right? You just need to get started in real estate and it'll change over time. You don't have to have the whole plan figured out from day one. So I admire both of you guys that you got started, you did something, and it sounds like there were stresses along the way, but it worked out and you moved on from there and grown from there. So that's sharp. So what happened after Stas? What happened, or what'd you do after that first deal in Virginia?
Yeah, so I was 20. I was an E4. I didn't really have a whole lot of money. After I sold that, I got transferred. I had to go to New Jersey, and I bought another house. I bought it for $120,000. I put more roommates in it, more sailors, you know, more crazy times, more, you know, whatever, more good times. And at the same time, a lot of the money that I got from selling that initial place back in Norfolk, we just, you know, kind of plowed it back into the business. We picked up a bunch of really good properties in Springfield. Went on Southern, couple other ones and they were pretty much dirt cheap. I think we bought our double here in Springfield on the south side for, Arthur, was it 10,000?
yeah, it was like $12,000, 145, 147 West Southern. Yeah.
For a
Vinyl.
double.
Yeah,
That's
vinyl
really-
siding, good windows, like, you know, vinyl windows, good roof. The only thing that was really wrong with it was the cosmetics. So, you know, that's perpetuated the addiction. And, you know, we ended up buying more properties. I ended up selling that property that I was living in New Jersey for, I think, 175, I think. So, and then, you know, that was more fuel to invest it back, and pretty much all the money that we invest into Springfield or into real estate, it just gets reinvested. And that's been I think the secret to our success, the secret to our sauce.
Yeah. So, I mean, from the outside, when you tell that story, it sounds like day one, you were just on fire. You were all in. There weren't any struggles. Did you have, like, what was your initial motivation in doing it? Did you have any mental struggles of, am I doing the right thing? Is this a stupid idea, a good idea? You know, that inner turmoil?
Oh yeah. I mean, when you're 20 years old and you're buying, you know, you're talking about your house, and all your friends are buying, after deployment, they're buying Mustangs and Camaros and going to Acapulco and, you know, the Bahamas. And here you are, you're like, yeah, I'm just going to buy a house, and, you know, and then I'm going to spend like a whole year, like, fixing it up. You know, it doesn't have the same ring to it. Or, you know, they're going out to the bars and you're like, yeah, well, I'm just, you know, I'm putting in hardwood floors this weekend, you know what I'm saying? So that was hard. But we also had some, you know, some deals that were very, very stressful. The first one, Arthur and I, the first flip that we did, we bought it for $500. You know, we bought a house for $500, and that was an experience. Arthur, I'm not sure if you want to talk about that.
What could go wrong with a house bought for $500? Come on.
Yeah, the house at 208 Corlington Drive, Springfield, Ohio, and we bought it for $500. Had to track this guy down, chase him down. Took probably 6 months to chase him down. He said, "I'll give you the house for free." I said, "Well, I'll give you $500." He said, "Great." He said, "There's no liens on it." Well, that wasn't the case. He just didn't know, I guess. But there was a $36,000 mortgage on the property, and at that time, I didn't know. Like, I thought it was our house. Little did I know that debt also transferred over to us. So then once we had it fixed up, we had to basically go back and, fight it out with the bank to get them to reduce that debt obligation. So they reduced it to $3,200 on a short sale. But that was a nightmare. Yeah, that was a difficult deal. House came nice, and we sold it. And as far as I know, the lady lived there.
That's amazing.
Arthur had to chase down the note from 7 different banks because they kept selling the note. So he had to call one bank, and they transfer over to another. So he calls the other bank. They're like legal department, and they have no idea. They don't really talk to you. So they're like, I don't have it, but you're like, can I have the number to you who sold it to? I need to work out a deal with them. So this was like forever. It took Arthur. He was always on the phone, and we still made money on the deal, but that was interesting too.
So what is that actual conversation like? Once you finally got in touch with the real contact of the owner of the note, what was that conversation like? How do you get a debt of $36,000 down to $3,200?
We had to do a short sale process. So the problem was, at that point, we already fixed the house up. So now the value was improved. We put in a brand new kitchen. We did a lot of upgrades as far as like water heater. We put a new one. Just a lot of work we did to the house. And so we had to go back and essentially destroy it, so to speak, to justify.
Improve it.
Windows and put some graffiti
Really?
up. Yeah, we had to make it look like, like something that needed a lot of work because we had already repaired it. And we had, by that point, we were thinking we were ready to clear to close, so to speak. And then we had this issue pop up last second. So we had to go fight it out with the bank and take pictures and show them condition report. And good thing they didn't send any supplemental inspectors or appraisers or realtors. Because the inside was nice, but we had to make it look like a mess from the outside, which it was a mess. And we had a bunch of pictures from the beginning, and we truly spent every single dollar that we put into it. So it was a big project. It was a good learning experience. So the moral of the story is always do a title search on the property.
Always. Oh, hey,
Amen.
do you want to?
Very good advice. Yeah, always. There's never a reason not to, right?
Right. We learned.
Do you want to tell them about the cultist and the bathtub in the same house?
No, it's not relevant.
Okay. All right, we'll skip it.
So as you guys were doing this, the quote comes to mind of live as others don't now so that you can live as others don't in the future, right? Obviously the choices you were making were not the norm, but the lifestyle that you get because of that is not the norm. So what did others think when you were doing this? If you're spending your weekends working on these beat up houses and running around chasing banks and sellers and not doing what the average 20-year-old or 24-year-old does, what did others think of it?
I know for me, a lot of people, didn't really see the same vision that I did. They were kind of more or less focused on tomorrow. And I was thinking about, 5 years from now, from when I'm out of the military, I really wanted to have a safe job. I know that our stepfather, he was when he got hurt and then he couldn't be able to work. That initially why the family went into real estate. So the minute that he got sick and, that he had gangrene on his foot, and once they amputated that, they told him kick rocks. So basically they, instantly stopped his salary. He could have probably worked from home, maybe. They got rid of the car allowance, everything. I mean, it was just so sudden. And I didn't want that happening to me. So for me, that's what I was thinking about. But a lot of people, that was, they didn't believe in the whole delayed gratification idea. They're like, why are you going to buy a house if you're just going to move in 2 years? Why are you going to do this? A lot of people didn't see the big picture. So I got a lot of pushback, and there was a lot of stuff that I had to kind of put off. It's like, no, I'm not going out and, drinking with you on Friday or whatever on Saturday because I'm doing this tomorrow. Or I'm doing this today. So, yeah, definitely a lot of, I'd say quite a bit of pushback.
What about you, Arthur?
I mean, I've kind of been self-driven, so it really was irrelevant whether people liked it or not.
That's awesome.
I mean, I still got an EBT card up there, and I used to, when I was in school, for example, like when I was in college at Wittenberg University, I'd be working. I had 3 jobs. I worked at Wittenberg 20 hours a week, at Walgreens as a cashier, usually 1 or 2 days a week, and then donated plasma, and then that's twice a week. And so I always just been on the grind. So I never really just wanted to fit into the crowd. That's never been my thing. So I don't know, a lot of the people that I talked to, they were like inspired by it. Like, wow, you're doing this, you got a house, you're doing this. And I've been able to help. That's like been the spark for a lot of people that were not in real estate, that are in real estate now, that I've been able to help. And just because they see that I can do it, I've started from, food stamps, going to the pantry, donating plasma every week, to now having ability to, if I don't want to go to work today, I don't have to go to work today. That passive residual income. So I don't know if I got a lot of pushback. I got a lot of people that were like, "Man, what are you doing? How can I be a part of that?" So
that's awesome. I mean, and it is, I think a lot of people struggle when they get that pushback of second guessing whether they're doing the right thing or not. And a lot of it is being independent and just knowing what you're working towards, being clear on your why and what the reward is at the end of the effort. But a lot of it is being around the right people, right? And just if you're around other people who have the same mindset and the same goals, it's so much easier. And so I think that's sharp. I think you guys do have a great testimony or story, because this is a relatively short amount of time. When people talk about retirement or financial freedom, most people think they're, working 40 years of their life to someday have some freedom. And you guys are talking about freedom with your time in 7 years. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So, what were some other deals that you had in the early years? Did you focus on rentals or flips, or what was your primary focus?
The one deal Arthur brought up a little bit earlier, he was talking about our property in Dayton. The very first rental that we got in 2013, I have to look this up, but in April 2013, we bought Fernwood. We bought it for $10,725. We ended up renting it, I think, for $600. And then, I'm sorry?
521.
Okay, all right. And we had a tenant in there, and Arthur, he would manage. I was away, but this place had bars on the window. This was, not the kind of neighborhood that we would invest in now, but it was that water heater kept getting stolen. And Arthur, he had a Pontiac Grand Dam at the time, so he would carry the water heater inside of his Pontiac. 3 times he had to do it and install it, bring it down to the basement. And we still made money on the deal. It was still a great learning experience for me and Arthur. And then in June of 2016, we sold it at $13,900, which is a whopping $9 per square foot. So.
Well, you just need to rephrase it as a percent, because that's like a 30% increase, right?
That's right. Just put it on a percent and just send it to some investors. They'll think that we're big time.
Yeah, a lot of people use those percentages to really stretch reality. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? It was another Russian guy that ended up buying it from Colorado. And then he held on to it for, did you see the next time it was transferred? Literally, this property has been transferred 10 times in the last 10 years. Or 15 years.
Wow.
And the weird thing is, I got an email from a wholesaler with a property, and I thought it was a joke. I'm like, are you messing with me? And it was like the real deal. So I called up, and then this guy was actually trying to sell us back Fernwood. And then I just talked to him like, can you describe it? And then the guy's like, oh yeah, it's in really nice condition. I'm like, how's the neighborhood? And he's like, oh yeah, it's good. Like no problems. Whatever.
Up and coming.
It was yeah.
Yeah, he had a price of like $25,000 or something.
He did, yeah.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. So how many units are you guys at now, or how many rentals do you currently have?
So between Arthur and I, between all the different LLCs that we have 25 units. So
Awesome.
fourplexes, duplexes, and single family houses is a mix.
And I know a lot of people right now struggle with finding deals. How, over those years, how have you typically found your deals, or how'd you find those units?
Arthur.
Well, most recently, for example, like 2 months or a month and a half ago, we got a referral from one of my good friends, Nate Moeller, with Klingman Insurance. He called me. He had a client, her husband passed, and she needed to get rid of these properties. Some of them were in foreclosure and stuff like that. So I called her, and we ended up buying with 4 properties, and I ended up listing the rest, and we've sold all but 2 at this point. So a lot of referral business. People know that we're in the business of buying houses cash. We close quick. We're serious. We'll show up the same day if you need us to. But it's hard to find. It's hard pickings right now as far as the MLS. I mean, that's where the pond where everyone's fishing. So, we do like Z Buyer, but we really haven't got any kind of traction with that. So, 761 Dorchester, that was a Zillow making me move. Some of the other ones that was a creative finance deal that we picked up on land contract, fixed it up and sold it and did a double closing and made profit on that. So, but I think the majority of it is us prospecting, calling for sale by owners, expireds, Z buyers, calling all these different sources that collect leads, and then just obviously bird dogging the old time strategies, which still work in this market. So kind of a combination of everything at this point.
I think that's probably the truest answer you could give for how do you find deals, or how does someone find deals. It's just a matter of constantly working at it in a whole bunch of different ways, and the deals will come. So I think that's awesome. I think too often people look for the simple one answer, and that's going to solve all the problems of finding deals, when in reality, I always lean towards a shotgun approach. I'm going to be putting out there that I'm buying houses. I'm going to be having bandit signs. I'm going to be doing some mailers. I'm going to be doing some cold calls. I'm going to be trying all these different things, and no one way is the perfect way, but through a bunch of effort, the leads will come. So.
And I think a big part of it too is just having a good name in the community. So if you're the kind of person who can get a deal done, who says what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, you actually get it done. And then just staying in front of people. I remember in New Jersey, I bought a printer and I licked like 2,000 envelopes, and I stick like this letter inside. And I did that for like a long time. And I would send them to Arthur in this big box, and he'd go to the post office and he would like drop them off, because it'd be weird if you were getting a letter from Jersey, because they stamp the stamp or whatever.
Yeah.
So just a variety of ways. The last one that we did is wholesaler. A wholesaler brought us a deal, and we ended up buying it.
Sure.
Oh yeah, Natalie and Jerry Green. Shout out to those guys. Awesome.
Yeah. I think that's great. And I think when you get a referral lead, I think that's the most valuable lead you can get. It's not something you can't build up a great reputation over 6 months. That you only get that by being in the business, being authentic, working with integrity, people respecting you. So I think that really should be the goal of everybody long term, is having that reputation and being known, so that you do get those referrals. Absolutely. So that's sharp. So, going from 1 unit to 25 units and being in a partnership, and what are some of your keys to that growth? From looking in from the outside, it could seem a little complicated to go from 1 to 25. What's that growth been like?
I think us getting together last week or 2 weeks ago, Chad, you, me, and Stas and Tim, going over some of the things like systems and putting those systems in place so that way we can take it not just from we've got 25 now, but we were in the market for 76 unit single family portfolio. So we feel like with the right systems, if we have the right systems in place, property management, the construction side of things, the disposition side of things, I feel like it's all about systems, implementing those systems and replicating those systems.
Yeah, sure. What were you going to say, Stas?
And I was going to say this, it's kind of similar to where we started out. There is a lot of delayed gratification that goes into it. So you kind of have to expect it. Arthur and I, we stopped taking money out of the business in 2014? Is that right? We pretty much stopped paying ourselves to,
I don't even know. I don't even think we ever paid each other. Like, we've got a little,
yeah.
That's about it.
But I mean, this whole creation of this, it kind of snowballs on its own. Like, but you have to, there's a lot of work on building up the initial capital and kind of rolling it and rolling it and rolling it. And, you're doing all this work, and sometimes, it's a lot of the times you're more or less are working for free, and then you have to expect that. You have to expect that. It just is what it is. But, in 8 years from now, 10 years from now, you could retire, and that's the magic of it. It's just how hard do you want to push it? Like, how hard do you want to get there? So.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I think there are obstacles, or there are struggles in real estate and starting any business. That's a fact of life, and so anybody who's getting started shouldn't feel frustrated that, it's taking a lot of effort, or there's a lot of headaches, or I'm not getting there fast enough. That's part of the journey, and just accept that as part of the process. And I think, Arthur, your point is, if that's all people take away from it, that the key to growth is systems, I think that alone is monumental. So wherever we are at, I was at a mastermind, I think it was in February, and there were investors all over the spectrum from about 10 units to 1,000 units. And everybody, when they got on the hot seat where they were in the middle sharing and asking questions, everybody had something they were struggling with. So, no matter where they were in their journey, there was something that they were working to try to overcome to get to the next level. But the systems that the person with 1,000 units had compared to the systems for the person with 10 were completely different. So the amount that we can scale, and the amount of real estate that we can control, and the amount of people that we can organize towards one goal or one vision is totally up to that system that we can develop. So I think that's awesome. Just a matter of building those systems. And I know you guys have 25 now, and that's impressive. And a lot of people really want to get to that point, but I know that's just a blip on the radar to where you guys are going, for sure. So from, your perspective, what are your goals from where you are now? What are you working towards? Where do you want to get to in the next, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, however far out you plan or vision?
Well, I think immediately what we're trying to do, and Chad, what we've been working with you is putting down every system that we have on paper. And then on top of that, systemizing it to a point to where we can drop it in somebody's lap and, kind of obviously give them a little bit of training, but bring it to a point to where we are working ourselves out of a job, to where the business is, running the day to day, and we could kind of sit back and make some of the major decisions, but not be in the office, answering, phone calls about somebody's, toilet leaking, or, the dishwasher not working correctly, something like that. That's something immediately, Arthur, if you want to talk about the longer term.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at literally anything and everything, all kinds of opportunities. We've got like this, I keep going back to the 76 unit deal that we were a part of. We had, besides me and Stas, 4 of the partners and two money partners. And we're looking to do a bigger project. I feel like the single family house is good. You can get one house, but it's one house and under one roof. But if you can get a bigger project, apartment complex, mobile home park, storage units, things of that nature, we're looking more or less, I would say, the next, whenever the opportunity arises. We were, like I said, we were 70, could have bought 76 units last week, but it just didn't happen. We got beat out.
That was an interesting deal. I remember some of the details of it. What was the situation with that 76 units that you were trying to get?
Yeah, so it's city of Springfield Forest that owned them, and it's basically, these homes were built in the factory, brought together on semi-trailers, put together. They were low-income housing with deed restrictions on them. They had OPA funds, so federal government funding and city funding. So there was a lot of restrictions on the deeds for these properties. They went to foreclosure. The mortgages were not being paid by the entity, so they were going to be auctioned off. Coincidentally, we knew the property managers that managed all these properties. We own a lot of real estate around these properties, so we were definitely interested in picking them up. So we structured it with a couple partners who have some, mattress money, so to speak, or they did well on selling some storage units. And so we just pulled them in on the deal as to be on the board and to be money partners and a second set of eyes for us. So, but we had to do, it was an auction, online auction. It wasn't a sheriff sale, but it was a foreclosure sale. And last minute, we came to find out that the deed restrictions were on the properties that were fully occupied. So there was 32 that were vacant, 45 that were, or 31 vacant, 45 occupied. Our whole strategy was to raise the rent. Most of them were 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet, 1-car attached garage being rented for $650 a month. So they were underpriced. And so our whole goal, our strategy coming in was to increase the rent, recapitalize on our capital really quick on the $2.5 or $3 million investment off of the vacant ones, which we could have probably sold for $100,000 a piece. So could have recapitalized on our investment and had 40 cash flow and rental properties that were built in 2001. But with the deed restriction in place for 3 years, we didn't want to be sued by the Attorney General's office. We called them. We called Cavalieri, Bailey, and Columbus that were representing, and we called the law director. We called the city manager. We called the commissioners. We called the community development. We called the auditor. We called the treasurer. There was just so much legwork on this deal. So it was a little bit disappointing when we didn't get it. But at the same time, the numbers were just too tight. And, the other moral of the story is don't buy every deal, just buy the good deals. And we felt like we made the right decision by not getting into that deal ahead of time. So just like with a bad tenant, we talk about this too, right? The first thing it should be the application process to where you're screening the tenant to make sure you're not even getting into a situation where you have to evict them or things go south. So
yeah,
all the deals, we just want the best deals, and that's worked well for us.
That's awesome. Well, and just the fact that you're assessing the deal, making offers, that you're swinging, you're going to get one of those hits. You're going to get the home run eventually. You just got to keep swinging. If you're in the dugout the whole time, you're never going to get it. So,
right.
So I think that's awesome. So are you open to single family still, or just the apartment complexes, or any good deal that comes your way, you're on board?
Good deal.
Yeah, we love a good deal. Anything Clark County. I hope that we're, the first point of contact for, whoever's watching this. If you guys have anything Clark County, or even for that Dayton, you know, we would consider pretty much any deal, but on our horizon, we're looking towards, you know, bigger and better things. It's a natural growth, you know, for us to look at, you know, bigger and better deals, more or less. So in the next couple of years, you know, we'll definitely have something secured and, you know, more systems in place.
Sure. So what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting off? They, you know, maybe they're looking for that first deal. They're struggling whether to get into real estate, or maybe they have 5 properties or so and feeling like, you know, they're starting to see some headaches and aren't sure how to grow. What advice would you give to them in the early stages?
Personally, I would tell them that really there's 2 parts. So first, you need to get a baseline of education. Clearly, you should know what a title search is, right? So have enough of a baseline underlying knowledge to where you're not moving in drug dealers into your house, to know that you should get a title search, to know, you know, to take a look at a property and know, you know, that it is a good property and it is viable. So have that base level, that foundation there, but everything above that, you're going to learn on the job. So a lot of people that I've talked to, a lot of the newer investors, they will read every book underneath the sun. They're so proud of their library of the different books that they have and the episodes that they listen to, but they don't have a single deal under their belt. The real knowledge is not in the books. It is out in the field, you know, cutting your teeth on some bad deals and, you know, getting bumps and bruises or whatever, and just, you know, walking away from that, because those kinds of lessons you will never forget. And then you can apply those lessons to other situations. So I feel like it's very, very important just to, you know, study a little bit, enough for it, you know, talk to some people, maybe get a sanity check from some seasoned investors, like tell them like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Can you just come take a look at this property with me? This is my plan. And then after that, pull the trigger, do it. Don't sit on it. Don't sit on it. It's just, you know, because that day will never come if you just procrastinate and procrastinate.
Yeah. Bouncing off of what Stas said. So like for us, if you look at us, we went into it not just by ourselves alone, but we went into a partnership. So we had our own different roles that we were playing. You know, at that time I was more like boots on the ground. But the point is, you want to have a partner. Like even if though Stas wasn't here, hey, if anything, you know, he needs to make a phone call, I can still make a phone call. But I handled the majority of that. So number one, I'd say have a partner. And then number two is, for example, for me, I've had coaching in place since I became a real estate agent. For 5 years I've been paying. So, and I'm not afraid to spend, like I would spend that money again on that coaching. So like kind of what you're doing, Chad. And I feel like if anyone is interested in what Chad is doing, like we've employed you to help us take a look at, you know, analyze our business and how we can grow and how we can get to the next level. So I feel like the coaching aspect, you can have a slow growth acceleration, or you can have a super V. You can have, you know, you can go shortening that cycle of growth so you can get to the next level. So it just depends on your propensity for risk. You know, if you're comfortable and you're good with 5 deals, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. You could do 50 deals. You can do 500 deals. It's just where you want to be, and then have someone lay out a plan of how you can actually get into that position. Somebody that's been there, done it.
Awesome. Love it. So yeah, I think no matter what, people need to decide where they want to get to and not question whether they're going to get there, but just how they're going to get there, right? One way or another, they're going to do it. And no matter what struggle they're having, somebody's been through it before. Then there's no reason, or at least I agree with you, Arthur, completely. There's no reason to try and reinvent the wheel and figure out the solution to every problem when there are so many people around us who have already overcome it. And it's a much quicker process to invest in benefiting from that other person's experience, whether that's hiring a consultant, hiring a coach to walk with you through the process, whatever that is. I'm in the same boat with you. That's one of the greatest investments I've made over the years with my business. So
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So for you guys, you know, what is the big motivation for you what's your why? What gets you up in the morning, keeps you fired up and pushing forward?
Well, for me personally, one of my big drivers is independence. So I want to be the kind of person who, is not. How do I say this? It's tough. I really love independence. I want to give my wife independence. To if she wants to work a job, she can. If she doesn't have to. The lifestyle that goes into it. I don't want to have a 9 to 5. That and the different challenges and growth. I feel like in this business, the opportunities and the challenges that come along the way are pretty much different every single time. The people that you encounter are some of the most interesting people ever. We talk to you, we talk to Justin, we talk to Cassidy, we talk to our friends who are in the business like Mr. Burner. They have nuggets of knowledge which are invaluable, more or less. So just getting exposed to those people and looking at where they are and the person that you could potentially become, like 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. That's what motivates me.
Don't forget Sandra McKibben too.
Oh yeah, big shout out to her.
All right.
For me, it's legacy. It's like, what impact are you making? I always think about, like, what are people going to say about me at the eulogy? How did I make a difference in this time that I was here? It's a short life, right? So for me, the legacy, the independence, and the freedom that Stas was just talking about, same exact thing. I worked as a cashier at Walgreens. I used to donate plasma. I was stuck to working a job in a factory, multiple factories, second shift, 100-degree weather. That's not what I wanted to do. And so now that I've worked those jobs, now I can say, well, I don't want to do that again. So the financial freedom and the legacy for my family to change the trajectory of the whole life. And we're doing that through real estate. And anyone can do it, really. You don't have to be the smartest. You just have to be a hustler and put a plan in place and go do it. I honestly believe that.
Awesome. So, I don't know. I love you guys. I love you guys' perspective. Just talking to you, in this 45 minutes, I feel more fired up. I'm more ready to get out there and get things done. So I hope everybody listening, I'm confident everybody listening feels the same way. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, follow what you're doing, what are the best ways for them to do that?
For me, if you guys can find me on LinkedIn. Send me a message there. It's Stas Solomon. That's my last name, Solomon. Actually, it's our last name. And you guys can also call me on the business line. It's 937-701-7879.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook as well. Comfort Living LLC. You can find the realtor business, the Solomon Group at Coldwell Banker. We also, buy houses as well. So if you buy houses, apartments, stuff like that, call the 701-7879. Call me on my cell phone. You guys could DM us. You could whatever, LinkedIn, Facebook, text message, phone call. Doesn't matter. So we're out there. We're getting it. So just give us a call. Reach out to us. We're not hard to find.
Yeah, just don't come to my front door.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good general rule. All right. Well, I'd encourage anybody who wants to find out more, definitely reach out to Arthur and Stas. They're great guys, very genuine, open, and you'd be glad that you did. If you're in the Springfield area, you want to sell a house, buy a house, definitely get in touch with them. Even if you're a business owner and you're not in real estate, but you want to know the movers and shakers of the area, get in touch with these two guys. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time, coming on, sharing your story. I think a lot of good information and tips and a lot of good encouragement for other people. So I really appreciate it. Definitely got to have you on again down the road, because I know there are big things coming up for you that you're working towards. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much for coming on.
It was a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Chad.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.